She was losing the balance there between being perfect or trying to be perfect and trying to be happy.
I knew she was putting a lot of pressure on herself.
I wish every day that I could have done something.
When Madison Holleran began her freshman year at the University of Pennsylvania, her family and friends assumed she would excel there, just as she had everywhere, in the classroom, on the soccer field, on the track.
Before she got the Penn, what did she struggle with?
Not too much.
Madison was just like the happiest person that I knew. Until she went to college, she was always smiling. She was always talking, laughing, dancing, singing. I mean, she was all over the place, but in such a good way. She was just so happy.
Madison won 2 consecutive New Jersey state soccer titles at Northern Highlands.
Number 3, Madison Holleran.
She started running track, and by senior year won the state championships in that also, winning the 800 meters in a time of 2 minutes, 8 seconds.
Trying up the last few steps.
Madison accepted a scholarship to play soccer, her favorite sport, at Lehigh.
She told me she verbally committed to Lehigh for soccer, and I was so happy for her because that was a sport she loved.
Then the Ivy League came calling, but for track.
Why do you think Madison chose to run track in college?
I think because it helped her get in the Ivy League. She was enamored with the Ivy League. I think it was the prestige.
I think once that Ivy League was brought into her head, I mean, that was it for her. I think once she was shown that she could get that was in her reach, she wanted it.
In a way, an Ivy League school, those hallowed halls, offered something few other places could, the chance for the perfect college experience.
I think there's also a piece of when you're striving so much for perfection that it can manifest into, like, as a sickness when that's the case.
Madison chose Penn, but when she arrived on campus, instead of being the school of her dreams, it became the backdrop for her struggles. Running, school, friendship, nothing came as easily as it once had.
In college, everything's just turned up one notch. Like in high school, when you're trying to balance athletics, social, and school, it's very possible. It's difficult, but it's possible.
She wasn't feeling like she was achieving, I think, at her perfectionist level that she had become accustomed to.
And she couldn't make her real world look as perfect as the images she posted online.
There's the holes that you don't see. There's the hardships. There's the times when she was unsure, when she missed home. And that's kind of what people aren't seeing.
Madison felt off balance. She thought running took up too much time, and she considered quitting.
It was more like it was a time commitment, and it was taking away from other aspects of her life that she could have focused on more. Just like, I want a social life, and like track is really putting a burden on that.
Based on the pictures Madison was seeing online, her friends seemed to have found that balance, seemed to be enjoying college. Of course, when her friends looked at her pictures, they thought the same.
Often, like, she was trying to capture the beauty, and I think often when she did it, it was like a beautiful situation, but she like wanted to hold it forever and like remember it as that.
She could enjoy those small moments, but then she took the bad ones really, really hard.
When Madison went home over the holidays, she didn't want to admit she was unhappy, but she didn't have to say anything. Her family could tell.
When Madison came home, I didn't feel like she was really any happier. The one thing that she said that to this day still sticks out in my mind is, this isn't normal. It is not normal to feel this way.
We were all hanging out in like the living room. My brother said to her, he's like, you don't laugh anymore. Like, you just never laugh. And Madison was like, I know.
There was nothing in her face. Like, there was no, Madison like wasn't there.
she didn't smile, which doesn't seem like it would be a weird thing, but for Madison it was. Like, to see her in a room for 10-15 minutes and her not smile once, I mean, that was weird.
When I looked at her, she looked white, she looked depressed, and I said, Madison, I think you look depressed. And she was very quiet and said, Dad, all I want to do is go to sleep.
How much for you do you think it was setting in the space of college, and how much was it mental health?
Honestly, I think it was more of a mental health issue.
Is there any history of depression on your side of the on either side of the family?
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Over winter break, with the shifts in her personality now unmistakable, Madison began seeing a therapist.
She did admit that she had suicidal thoughts, and I was in her last session with her therapist, and she made Madison's state that if she had any suicidal thoughts, she would not act them out. You know, I was concerned with that answer, the way she answered it.
What about the way she answered it concerned you?
That it wasn't sincere enough. And she kind of looked away from us.
Back at Penn, Madison communicated to her friends that she planned to make the most of second semester. And she did have a plan. That plan was just drastically different than the one she was sharing with friends and family. What do you remember about the day of January 17th?
I talked to her actually right around noon, and she told me she was buying books in the bookstore.
On the night of January 17th, 2014, just after dusk, Madison Holleran posted an Instagram from Rittenhouse Square, then walked to a parking garage at the corner of Spruce and 15th Street. She climbed the 9 flights of stairs to the top.
I think that Madison had this idea that she didn't want to be a burden to anybody. She didn't want to have to put her problems on anybody. So I don't think she wanted to ask for help if she didn't have to.
At the Penn bookstore, Madison had bought gifts for her family. On top of the parking garage, she would leave those items, including a picture of herself as a kid holding a tennis racket. And after placing those items where authorities would find them, she jumped from the side of the building.
We got a call from the chaplain later that evening. I mean, part of me was, I don't think this happened.
I was just like, I literally talked to her like 7 hours ago. How did that not even come up in conversation?
I could not process it. It did not hit me for at least 20 minutes. I didn't understand at all.
I called my mom and she just said it. Madison's dead. That's what she said.
Madison's friends and family say that she lived in the moment, that they rarely heard her talking about the future. And maybe, they say now, she couldn't project into that future, just couldn't see past the immediate pain of her present.
She had put UPenn on a pedestal, and that it's going to be this fantastic, fun college experience. And when it didn't turn into that, she wanted to try to fix it herself.
Madison had trouble asking for help. Her friends say she wanted things to be perfect, and even when they weren't, at least online, she could make it seem as if they were.
Sometimes people just only post the good parts, and maybe those pictures really are happy moments for them, but what's missing is the in-between. There's holes that you don't see.
I do definitely think she lived in the moment. When she was happy, she was so happy. I mean, she enjoyed the moment as much as possible.
She had 19 amazing years. And for most of them, except for maybe 3 or 4 months, they were so happy. And that's what, that's what I'll remember. And that's what I want people to remember.